Reporting for the Intermountain Christian News, I'm Dr. Anthony Harper here at the White House. If you would like to support truth reporting here at the White House regarding Israel and about this issue about anti-Semitism, I ask questions here on behalf of Jewish people as well as Christian people, and you can go to the website imcnews.org, that's for the Intermountain Christian News, and look for the donate button and make a donation to help support truth reporting here at the White House.
Yes, I'm Anthony Harper, Intermountain Christian News, and also the Christian Newspaper Association. Not many of you may understand about in the election in the U.S. that the Christian vote turnout was significant in Trump's win. And the key issue for a lot of Christian voters in America has been, I wanted to share our Christian support for Israel. Many Christians in America praying for Israel and praying for you, Mr. Prime Minister, and for all the leadership here. There was a key scripture in the Old Testament that led up to this big Christian voter turnout in 2 Chronicles 7:14. Franklin Graham, Billy Graham's son, traveled to 50 states in the nation and called the church voters to prayer and repentance. And those voters in America believe the solution to terrorism is found in your Tanakh, the 2 Chronicles 7:14. What would you share with the Christian voters in America that turned out in large numbers, about 80% of the evangelical vote, that put Trump in his position, and the Christian media that gave Trump this opportunity?
I appreciate deeply the support we have from Christian friends around the world. In the United States, North America, South America. That's a developing situation. Interesting one. Europe, Africa. I visited 4 countries and I was astounded by the degree of empathy for what they said. They said the children of Israel. You represent the children of Israel. That tells you something. And the same thing we're finding now in Asia and in unlikely places. So we deeply appreciate the constancy of that support and the expansion of that support. I have to say at the same time that we're interested in broad support. In the United States, obviously bipartisan support has been an anchor of the tremendous support that Israel has. The most important alliance we have was and will be with the United States of America. So I thank you for that support. And you said, what is my message in fighting terror? I'll tell you what my message is.
Okay.
My message is actually from Joshua. It said, be strong and of good courage. That's how you fight this thing. The most elementary thing is strength and courage. Strength is not enough, but courage is the most important quality because it guarantees, I think the Romans said this, courage is not the only quality, but it guarantees the others. Because if you don't have courage, everything else is meaningless. You have to have great courage and determination to fight this evil, and I think that we can defeat it.
And I think that every minute that we stall is a moment that the Democrats should have to answer for. Yeah.
Okay, I'm Anthony Harper, the Intermountain Christian Newspaper and the Christian Newspaper Association. And Israel leaders in the Knesset, I'm aware of, are concerned about the misuse of U.S. tax dollars going to UN schools that are inciting kids to violence against the Jews. What do you think President Trump, how would he respond to these Israel leaders? They're MK leaders Sharren Haskel, Yehuda Glick, and Dr. Eliza Levy. I met recently, had interviews with them. Their concerns are very serious. So they would want to know what President Trump, or how he responds to the misuse of these.
Well, I think I would go back to what I said to John a minute ago, which is that I think he has tremendous respect for how tax dollars are spent. But then I would mention again, I mean, we need a UN ambassador. We need a Secretary of State. There's a lot of these things that can start to happen under the direction of the new leadership that's being held up right now.
I'd love to wish them a very Merry Christmas and a blessed season and a happy, healthy New Year to them and their families, and to let them know that this president has done more on religious freedom for all denominations and people of faith He's the most pro-life president we've ever had as well. And he also has been trying to elevate the conversation about the murdering of Coptic Christians, for example. And he is somebody who got rid of the Johnson Amendment. He keeps on fighting for people of faith, including Christianity, but all faith. And he did that. He's the first president to ever address the United Nations General Assembly on the matter of religious freedom. And he did that 2.5 months ago. It was a wonderful speech that I would tell everyone to go and access. It's on the White House website. It'd be easy to find.
What is President Biden's response to people in Israel and other countries who might also believe that the U.S. will abandon them to terrorists?
We believe our commitment to Taiwan and to Israel remains as strong as it's ever been.
I wanted to know, what will President Biden's response if Israel bombs Iran's nuclear reactors?
I am not going to get into that kind of hypothetical, but thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you, Kate. Hi.
Jen?
Go ahead.
I have a question here about following the recent Palestinian terror attacks from the Temple Mount and previous week of attacks that have killed many Israelis and wounded more. Is the Biden administration reconsidering its support of the Palestinian Authority's two-state solution dividing Israel, or stopping the welfare payments sent to the Palestinian Authority, who use the money for their pay-to-slay reward system? And I have a follow-up question.
Okay, well, I would just note that I spoke to this last week on Wednesday, where I noted that the United States is deeply concerned by the recent violence in Jerusalem, on the Temple Mount, and across the West Bank, and we also strongly condemn the recent rocket attack on Israel. You may or may not have seen also that the President conducted a call with Prime Minister Bennett on Sunday morning. He accepted an invitation by Prime Minister Bennett to visit Israel in the coming months, no specific date yet. He took note of the ongoing efforts between Israeli and Palestinian officials to lower tensions and ensure a peaceful conclusion to the holy season of Ramadan. And he also affirmed our unwavering support for Israel and its defense needs, and welcomed the historic $1 billion allocation to replenish Israel's Iron Dome system.
The follow-up is, in view of continued Palestinian violence against innocent civilians, is the Biden administration willing to stop payments to the Anti-Semitic U.N. agency, UNRWA, and support restoring the Jewish cemetery in Vilnius, Lithuania, to its former glory?
Again, I think I don't have any changes to announce to our policy. I spoke to our condemnation of the violence just now, last week as well, and noted also our call to the Prime Minister. Go ahead.
What about Russia condemning Israel? Russia has been threatening Israel for helping Ukraine, and also for Israel bombing the Damascus, Syria airport. Any response to Israel that's being threatened by Russia?
I think our response will be the same as it has been now for the last several months. I mean, obviously Russia's feeling the pressure being isolated, the pressure of having a military on the ground that clearly has not performed as advertised. I mean, they still haven't solved their command and control problems, their logistical problems, their unit cohesion problems, their joint fires integration problems. And so they tend to lash out at countries that are providing support to Ukraine. We're grateful for the support that Israel has been providing, as well as so many other nations. More than 50 have signed up to provide some measure of security assistance to Ukraine. And that shows you that this is not just a Europe problem. It's nations around the world that are stepping up to defend Ukraine.
Hi, I'm Idaho Senator Jim Risch, and I'm glad you asked me to visit with you today. Idahoans know that anti-Semitism has no place in society today, and we should all do everything we can to fight against any anti-Semitic rhetoric or action when we see it. Israel and the Jewish people are among the greatest friends that the United States has, and absolutely our greatest friend and ally in the Middle East. Through our more than 70-year relationship, the United States and Israel continue to forge an unbreakable bond. On the economic, diplomatic, and security fronts, we advance our cause shoulder to shoulder. But there's more we can and should do to help and fight against those who wish to harm Israel. Just last year, I introduced a resolution in the Senate that condemns the rise of anti-Semitism across the globe. In 2021, violence between Israel and Hamas led to an increase in attacks against Jewish communities. This violence was and is further fueled by support here in the United States for the BDS movement, a global Palestinian-led effort to promote boycotts divestments and economic sanctions against Israel. The BDS movement is dangerous and contributes to the rise of anti-Semitism. I will continue to condemn all forms of anti-Semitism in Idaho, the United States, and around the world. On that note, defending Israel at the United Nations is one of the most important jobs we have. From the UN Human Rights Council Commission of Inquiry to Agenda Item 7, Israel is unfairly singled out over and over again. We work tirelessly to ensure that our ally is not targeted and to stop U.S. taxpayer dollars from supporting anti-Israel or anti-Semitic activities at the UN. I also introduced the UNRWA Transparency and Accountability Act to make much-needed reforms to UNRWA. This important piece of legislation would require the Secretary of State to certify that UNRWA employees are not affiliated with Hamas and that all agency textbooks do not contain anti-Semitic rhetoric before any U.S. money would be allowed to be given to UNRWA. I'm disappointed that just last month President Biden provided additional funding to UNRWA without seeking reforms. I will continue pushing for reform of this deeply flawed organization. On Palestinian assistance, I continue to scrutinize every dollar to ensure compliance with the Taylor Force Act and push the Palestinian Authority to abandon the egregious pay-to-slave program. And as we continue to fight against the misappropriation and desecration of Jewish cemeteries, we must urge leaders to respect sacred Jewish heritage and allow the proper restoration of these and other holy sites. Thank you for all the work you do to defend Israel. We must continue to stand strong. Again, thank you for inviting me to address your group today. God bless you for what you're doing.
We read news every day, news that's informative but rarely encouraging. The Intermountain Christian newspaper aims to change that. They present the news you need to know, from what's going on in your community to your world, with encouraging words, motivation, and the resources you need to make positive changes in your life. What is your local government doing that you need to know about? What's happening in your community you need to be a part of? Whether it's a story from your neighborhood, a national story, or an encouraging word, you'll find biblical issues of everyday life in the Intermountain Christian newspaper. Intermountain Christian News is produced and supported by the work and donations of individuals and churches. You'll find it at churches, Christian bookstores, by subscription, and online at imcnews.org. To find out more about supporting this local resource, go online at imcnews.org or call Intermountain Christian News in Boise, Idaho at 208-703-8688. The Intermountain Christian News, a voice sharing the truth on matters dear to people's hearts.